Welcome into No Punt Intended, presented by Club Fantasy. I am your host, Joe Zolo. Host number 2 on the back burner. Ryan, not really great at it, so I had to come back in for at least this week. And he's back at it next week because I'm traveling again. But here we are, party animals of the 2 seed and banana ball. Let's go. This week, we are, I think I just saw it was yesterday or today. We're like a month away from the start of the NFL draft. It is crazy. It is right around the corner. And that is when we start, of course, our Stars of Tomorrow series, starting with the quarterback position, the ever so hot button topic of the quarterback position. Joining us once again for back-to-back years, Mr. Eric Vanek from South Harmon Fantasy Football. Let's get into it. Welcome into No Punt Intended, presented by Club Fantasy. I am your host, Joe Zolo. 2 guys flanking the guests, Josh and Ryan. Sorry, Ryan, caught a stray there in the beginning.
Oh, I loved it.
I know you did. I'm good at my job. And joining us for the second straight year, Mr. Eric Vanek. Eric, how you doing?
Doing good, guys. How are you?
I'm fantastic. And Josh is already freezing, so we're really back on track here.
Oh, yeah. His camera's been that for a month now. So
Good. Good. I love it here. This is great. At least his background does look like he's in an insane asylum, so we're progressing further and further. Ladies and gentlemen, as mentioned, we are starting with the quarterbacks for our Stars of Tomorrow series. Did we plan it like this? No. Did it happen to just fall on the week where Dan Orlovsky shoved his fat cock up everybody's ass? Yes. Anyways, here we go. Here's where that's how we're gonna start. Like, subscribe on YouTube. If you're on Polar, Tiffy, or watching or listening on any other podcast platform, please make sure to hit that follow button. Eric did ask in the pre-show, is it okay to swear? So
I think that literally just opened the floodgates.
I wanted to set that tone early for everybody. Yeah. I wanted to set that
I'm
tone.
actually uncomfortable at this point.
If you're uncomfortable now, you just wait. We got another hour. Super chat as well if you want to chime in. You should hop in the Discord as well. More football talk year-round. Again, we are one of the few year-round shows here. I'm now I'm basically part-time because of my job. We are year-round.
We're probably about 2 years away from me catching you in episodes.
At this point, with all the travel I got, yeah. Okay, starting with Eric's top 10 quarterbacks of the 2026 class. Now, I do want to preface that he does not have Ty Simpson at 1. So this list is automatically invalid.
So Dan Orlovsky just tuned out.
So it's automatically invalid. We cannot trust that. So take Eric's advice here, obviously, with a grain of salt, because Dan Orlovsky knows all. And Ty Simpson's the number 1 quarterback. Fernando Mendoza is in tier 1, obviously. Tier 2 is Ty Simpson. Notice how that's a tier drop, not in the same tier. Taylen Green, Jalon Daniels, Carson Beck, Garrett Nussmeier, and Luke Altmaier. Those are 3 through 7, and those are all in tier 3. And then tier 4, Cole Payton, it's North Dakota State, Sawyer Robertson, and Chandler Morris are your tier 4 to round out the top 10 of Eric's 2026 quarterback draft class. Wow. What a pile of shit that is. Before we get into diving into the specific prospects, which team that needs a quarterback best set up to actually make that young quarterback successful? Eric, who would you say, if Fernando Mendoza could have the ideal landing spot that is not the Las Vegas Raiders, where would he be able to go? Because I imagine the answer to this question is not the Las Vegas Raiders.
No, not the Raiders. I mean, I think a good spot is probably the Rams. Just so they could sit a year behind Matt Stafford, learn that offense a little bit. I think that would be the best for pretty much any of these guys to be able to sit for a year and, being in the McVay tree, having Matt Stafford mentoring you a little bit. I think that would be the ideal spot for any of these quarterbacks to go.
So just building off of that, if you're the Rams, who are you taking legitimately? Because they're probably not taking a guy early. So if you're the Rams, who were you sitting there taking and probably in what round, in your opinion?
So I think getting a guy like I'm trying to think of like a good Stafford type guy or Jimmy Garoppolo, these guys that they've had, like getting like Carson Beck or Garrett Nussmeier, maybe like in round 3. I think would be a good spot for them. I don't know if McVay really wants to go get like that super athlete like Taylen Green or anything like that. But like that sort of style that he has, getting like a Carson Beck, a Garrett Nussmeier, a Luke Altmaier in like round 3, I think that would be ideal for them.
Yeah, because they don't have a 4th or 5th round pick, so it would probably end up being one of those like 2nd, 3rd round picks, unless they just push it all the way back to like 6th, 7th round and just take an absolute project.
Yeah.
I could see Pittsburgh as a decent landing spot. McCarthy, we don't love him, but he's done well with quarterbacks. They have a decent team around him. Bringing in Pittman to go with DK Metcalf, you get the right kind of weapons. They're nice at tight end. They have a running game. There's a lot of things going there, but if Rodgers is back, that makes it a toxic work environment, and then you don't want a rookie there.
Maybe I'm in the minority. I actually think the Raiders are a good landing spot for Mendoza or for any rookie, honestly, if they deem them necessary. I think Clint Kubiak has shown that he can build a good ecosystem. They brought in Tyler Lindenbaum to run point at center, where he can call out the blocking schemes, the coverages, those types of things. And that's a very valuable asset to any young quarterback that doesn't have to right off the rip hop right in and be like, hey, I got to do this myself. Like, center helps take that pressure off.
I know they have Bowers. I just worry about that receiving room. Like, even for Mendoza going there, you have, obviously you hope the offensive line improves, but right now you have a non-efficient running game that's going to put pressure on a rookie quarterback. And then who the fuck is he going to throw it to? And that's just what worries me about the Raiders. I think he can succeed there. I just worry.
And I think where they're in a good spot here is that, they're also sitting right at the top of round 2, right? They spent a lot of money this offseason. They spent money on defense. So when you invest in free agency on defense, that allows you to focus your draft capital on offense. And we've seen this before where teams will go in and they'll draft a rookie quarterback and then immediately with their next round pick, get them that favorite wide receiver, right? And I think there's going to be some options there at the top of the 2nd, or if they look to potentially trade back into the 1st. I mean, who knows? Maybe they go get, one of Mendoza's favorite targets from Indiana, Omar Cooper. Maybe a little bit later in the draft, they bring in an Elijah Surratt, somebody like that already has built-in chemistry with Mendoza. And we've seen teams do that over the last few years where they draft the young wide receiver that their young quarterback threw to in college.
All right, we're on the national champion now. So Mendoza's the clear quarterback 1, unless you're Dan Orlovsky and paid by CAA 2. CAA, CCA, whatever it is. It's whoever his agency is, he's paid to prop up Ty Simpson.
He got paid money to propagandize.
I love the 2 heaviest voices of Ty Simpson are failed backup quarterback Dan Orlovsky and failed NFL GM Mike Tannenbaum, who was notorious for not being able to properly scout young talent. I don't understand why you would want those guys as
less than ideal.
Yes. So originally this draft class, as many thought, were supposed to be pretty good. It is at this point, as I believe somebody said here in the chat, Dynasty Barry, impressive. We can even get to 10. So that's where we're at. And fun fact, I believe Eric has a full top 25 quarterbacks of 2026, which is, you want to talk about even more insane for this draft class, or just in
actually
general.
Watched them all too. That's more.
That's even
Somebody has a lot of.
That's what he put himself through for you guys.
Eric was in the lab, and by the lab he means hanging on the balcony. Like, why am I doing this to myself?
Yeah.
The TV hanging over the side. At this time last year, where was Mendoza in your group of quarterbacks heading into this class? Obviously, he could not have been number 1. I would be shocked if he was there. But where did he kind of sit? And just following up where you think he's going to be in his pro career.
To be honest with you, I never even heard of him until.
Me too. I was going to say the same thing. Yeah. I thought I was going to look like an asshole. I didn't know who he was.
Yeah, like I didn't really even know who he was until like Todd McShay brought him on the radar this offseason. or last offseason now, talking about him. They saw him at the Manning camp and was talking him up a little bit that he could be, somebody that might be able to sneak into the first round. But he was like maybe 4th or 5th on that list. Like he liked Nussmeier and Beck and Nussmeier and those guys ahead of him. But yeah, he just kept descending all offseason.
I was going to say I'd heard of Mendoza because I remember the fantastic Miami versus California game in 2024 where Cam Ward and Mendoza went back and forth and that game ended 39-38. But, you're still talking about a very meteoric rise, kind of similar, honestly, to Cam Ward, where Cam Ward's, transferring in, going to a different school, and then just vaults right up to the top because there's just not any more great options in a particular class. But that doesn't mean that these guys aren't good, because when you watch Mendoza, the kid ran the offense really well. He's super accurate and has been accurate for multiple seasons. Like, this wasn't just a, hey, this only worked at Indiana kind of situation. He was doing it at California, just had less talent to work with, right? Indiana brings in a lot of transfers, a lot of older players, and ultimately, leads itself to a 14-0 season, national championship, et cetera, et cetera. But to me, he checks all the boxes that you want in a top quarterback. He really does.
The thing that got me, and anybody who knows that I was burned by this mightily with Bryce Young, he's huge, Mendoza. Like, he's got the good size, and that's something that I feel like you have to have now. Like, I am fully convinced short quarterbacks don't deserve to live, so I'm just not with it anymore. So seeing the measurables on Mendoza and then what he can do on the field, it just makes me a lot happier.
So the heightest has come into play for the quarterback position now as well.
Yes, 100%. Wide receivers and quarterbacks.
Who's allowed to be short? It can run.
No, I'm okay with short wide receivers still. Like, just I prefer tall wide receivers. I prefer Mike Evans, though. That's a whole jaded conversation at this point. So
okay, good. Jeremy Curley dropped in the chat.
Yeah, saw that.
Also, Index. I'm also a Patriots fan. If we're disrespecting Jeremy Curley, I think Jeremy Curley was actually a dog. He wasn't a world beater, but I think he was actually a dog for the Jets. I didn't like playing against him. Now to the true number one quarterback in the class, Ty Simpson, obviously. Thank you, Dan Orlovsky, for the 48 hours of content. For those that haven't seen it, he got raped and pillaged on the Pat McAfee show by Pat McAfee and his gang of incredible non-journalists that were just ripping him apart because they're all just bros that actually watch the game of football. And literally we're in Indiana watching every single game. And then also Dan put out a post that says, it costs nothing to be kind. Okay, dickhead. What, like, fun fact too, Dan, it costs even less to be an asshole. And you're currently doing that, so you deserve it back. Ty Simpson had a good first half of the 2025 season. Not denying that. He had a good first half. SEC bias, SEC quarterback, sure. Faded as the year progressed. Yet he declared anyway. Not exactly the best thing to do. Should the league be viewing him as a quarterback 2 in this class, or as the quarterback 2 in this class, excuse me? And what is the worth as we prepare for our Dynasty rookie super flex drafts at this point? Might be landing point dependent. Where do you view him? Do you view him as the QB2? It seems like you do.
Yeah, I have him as QB2 pretty much by default. I mean, there's just really nobody else. If Trinidad Chambliss would have came out, he probably would be 3 for me, and I'd have Chambliss ahead of him. But since Simpson is pretty much the only one here, I mean, I liked most of his stuff. I mean, his accuracy is pretty good. Does have a few misses. Ball placement is usually really solid. Mobility is there to be functional, picks up yards. When he throws on the run, he tends to be inaccurate a little bit, though. When he's able to stop and plant and throw, he's much better. Arm strength is good. Throws some nice ropes. Maybe trusts his arm a little too much at times. Really good with ball fakes, but that's kind of one of the things about him. He's a son of a quarterback's coach and a head coach and all that stuff. So he's learned the game pretty much his whole life and does all that. So he does a lot of the little things and the footwork and all that kind of stuff that for quarterbacks he's really, really good at. So I think that's why a lot of the pundits like him a lot, just because he's really smart and all this stuff. So
this is where I continually bring up every year. Josh and Ryan, has Alabama ever produced a quarterback?
They've produced many quarterbacks, just not very good.
I was gonna say
Thank you.
they've produced quarterbacks, but
Have they
you know,
produced
guys
good
that have
ones?
been super? Look, say what you want. Tua did lead the league in passing yards.
Okay,
Once.
what is he doing
I'm just
right
saying,
now?
you know.
He's the backup to a
Yeah.
guy who's torn his ACL 4 fucking times.
I mean,
He's the
I don't
starter.
know that he's the backup, but that's
He's the
neither
backup.
here nor there.
He got
Here's the
his team
thing
is
with Ty
eating
Simpson.
$99 million of dead cap to get him off the fucking roster.
Well,
that's how
that's-
bad he is.
You can't deny that.
Yeah, that's how bad he is. Continue.
I digress.
That was Joe's Christmas.
Yeah, right.
It's the
You know,
best
here's the thing with Ty Simpson. Everything is working against him for the simple fact that he has 15 or less starts in college football.
Exactly.
And that's what it boils down to, right? I've always had a rule of thumb when it comes to quarterbacks coming into the league. And it was always redshirt sophomores I want nothing to do with because they haven't started enough games. That basically applies here to Ty Simpson, even though he's not a redshirt sophomore. He was not in the starting lineup last year above Jalen Milroe, who was a third-round pick to Seattle. He gets a year to start. Again, like we talked about earlier, he had pretty much half a good season. Then wheels really fell off towards the end, and he looked awful in that college football playoff game against Oklahoma. There were some weapons there in Alabama, but they were, I believe, 4th in the SEC in drops. They were 4th in producing yards after the catch. So I think there were a lot of factors that both helped and hurt Ty Simpson here. I thought the offense as a whole was pretty meh. But I think, like, when I watch him play, and Joe, you're going to love this, I get Zach Wilson on the Jets vibes. That's what I get from this kid. Minus the, like, arm strength that you saw from Zach Wilson, like, on his pro day. Because I feel like when I watch Simpson throw, it's like he's putting his entire body into the pass. And it just, like, you just see his body, like, twerk in really weird ways. And I'm like, there's no way this is going to sustain itself. And I feel like his mechanics are really up and down. And it's going to take a legit, like, QB whisperer to come in and, like, straighten him out. Kind of similar to JJ McCarthy type. And I feel like that should be an ultimate red flag here.
The concern for me, and I would love Eric's opinion on this, is the injuries. Like, it's not the same extent as who I'm about to compare him to, but the last quarterback we were really focused on injuries was Michael Penix, and he can't stay healthy. Now we're running, again, not the extent of the injuries that Penix, because it was the knee over and over again. But when you're dealing with Ty Simpson, you're getting a guy coming to the NFL where he's going to take more and harder hits. The last thing I want is drafting a quarterback that I'm never going to be able to use, and he's just permanently in my IR spot.
JJ McCarthy.
Yeah, with Simpson, well, obviously it's his only year starting, so he got hurt halfway through there, pretty much played through it, just, fell apart there at the end.
Yeah.
He's just going to I think he just needs to kind of sit a year. Like, he needs to at least get that experience. One of the things that we all talk about is, oh man, I'm not taking these quarterbacks that have less than, 20 games starting. We've seen it the last couple of years, Anthony Richardson and a couple of these other guys that were just absolutely awful that got taken so high. So I think somebody trades back up for him in the first round, but I just don't know who yet.
Yeah, barely 500 pass attempts in his entire college career.
Right. And Jalen Milroe sucked at passing, and he couldn't beat him out. Obviously, Jalen Milroe is a hell of an athlete, so you got to factor that in a little bit, too, that he wasn't even good enough to beat out Jalen Milroe.
So someone correct me if I'm wrong. I think the last quarterback that started one season in college that was actually good is Cam Newton.
No, Cam had more, but it was JUCO-based.
Cam had one full season of starting at the Division I collegiate level.
Well, that's different. But again, I mean, he still started in college. It was, again, JUCO, but it's still...
That doesn't count.
Okay,
no one's getting drafted
when
from
Cam
JUCO.
Ward's starting at Incarnate Ward, and you're giving me shit about that.
They played against literally the Division I AA powerhouse of North Dakota State. That is not the same as junior college. These schmucks that end up either in jail or bagging groceries at Walmart. Like, that's not the same. It's not the same. Sorry. It's simply not the same. And it's not the same. He started 14 games in college, Cam Newton.
Well, I mean, we could also point out the very obvious. Cam Newton could do things on a football field that
Nobody else could.
99.99% of people could not.
Right.
That's not Ty Simpson.
But that's the point I'm getting at is generational talent, number 1 overall pick, MVP 1 year, Cam Newton. That is not Ty Simpson.
Yeah.
Mark Sanchez did start, I believe, only 1 season at USC.
Yeah, I was gonna say Sanchez. Yeah,
I think to me that's look.
He really?
He led him to 2 straight AFC championship games in his first 2 seasons. Like, I mean, you can say that it was the defense.
I'll give him that. I'll give him that.
I mean, he was adequate for them when he first came out on his rookie contract. But like, to me, those are really the only 2 cases of guys that have started legitimately only 1 full season and actually done something in the NFL.
Yeah.
He did start a few the previous year, but
I mean, you're still talking what?
He had
16 career starts. Like,
yeah, he had 1 full season of.
I mean, experience wise, it's the right experience comp to Simpson.
Correct.
Yeah, and if you said, "Hey, how would you like Ty Simpson to be your Mark Sanchez?" Everyone would be like, "I would like him to not be on my team." Please.
Again, you give him a good defense. Maybe not the worst idea.
Where's he going? Where's he going?
Right. I mean, there's not going to be a great defense in wherever he goes
with a good defense and a good defensive coach. Because as dog shit as Rex Ryan was, he cooked those 2 years in New York.
Yeah,
sure did.
He was doing wonders those 2 years. Speaking of a dog shit quarterback, Carson Beck. Talk about a guy that was supposed to be the number 1 quarterback going into the 2024 season, leading up to the 2025 draft. And then he Carson Becked all over himself. Proceeded to then not decide to declare for the draft because Miami gave him the bag to go to Miami.
Yes.
And, to fuck one of the Cavender twins. And then he spent the 2025 season taking Miami much further than I think, Josh, you're a Hurricanes fan. I think further than anybody had thought the Hurricanes were going to go.
Defense, baby. That defense was legit.
And wouldn't you know it? He also had a pretty good defense at Georgia.
Yeah.
So I don't even know what the question is here, but I'm just going to ask you this, Eric. Is Carson Beck good or is it his defense?
No, he's not good. I think he could be a really good backup quarterback in this league. And if you had to start him for a week or 2, sure, you can get by, but I just don't see him or a lot of these guys being, everyday starters in the NFL.
Josh, you watched a lot of Carson Beck this past year.
I did, and I'm not somebody that really was a huge fan of Carson Beck. I grew to appreciate him more as the season went on. And
what do you mean?
And a lot of it is Miami had a great defense, right? Which allows Carson to just come in and not make mistakes. When he stayed clean, his offensive line was fantastic. So he was able to stay upright. When he made good decisions, they were winning football games. The 2 games that they lost, obviously, 4 interceptions against SMU, 4 against Louisville, and then 2 against SMU, right? But every other game, he was upright. I mean, he threw 30 touchdown passes. Miami had some great skill position players. Malachi Toney, the best freshman in the country. I think there's a lot to like, and the fact that he had these types of quality seasons, not just at Miami, but he also did it at Georgia. Like, yes, he's a 2-time national champion as a backup, but his first year starting in Georgia, he did lead them to the college football playoff.
Absolutely.
Dealt with the the elbow injury in the second season, which obviously sapped a lot of his upside. But I think for a guy that is 6'5", 233, he has the kind of size that NFL teams love in a quarterback. And I think he's got some pretty sneaky athleticism too. He's not somebody that
a little bit.
Yeah, he's not somebody that actively looks to run. I think he only had 117 yards rushing this year or something like that. But I think he's probably a top 2 game manager in this class. And I don't think that's a bad thing when you factor in how many teams are trying to load up on defense. I kind of see his ceiling as Jared Goff with mobility.
Yeah.
And that's really not a bad thing at the end. We shit on Jared Goff all the time. We see the highs and the lows. Jared Goff with mobility.
Oh, I heard Jared Goff mobility. I was like, that's not good mobility.
That you asked.
But what I'm saying is like as he gets comfortable, like, I mean, and we've seen bad Goff, obviously, but you get a good quality team around him and he does really well. And I think that's the ceiling that we could be looking at with Carson Beck.
And that's what I was just going to throw in here is there are two things that you have to say about this guy that, like it or not, NFL coaches latch on to. He is pro ready. He plays a pro style offense, and he is a proven winner in college. NFL coaches eat that shit up. Some coach right now is in fucking love with Carson Beck, and he is their number 2 quarterback, number 1, knowing that they're not going to get Mendoza. And that is the guy they want to walk out of this draft with. Whether we like it or not, NFL coaches love that shit.
3 years as a starter. And you're not going to find quarterbacks coming out really anytime soon that have 3 full years of starting experience.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get to it later when we talk about landing spots. But there's a potential for a team with a good amount of first round picks to potentially use one of them, or even gather some picks to come back into the late first round to see if they want to use that 5th-year option on a guy like Carson Beck.
I just don't know if he's worth that.
I don't know if he's worth that either. But did we also expect 6 quarterbacks to go in the first 12 picks 2 years ago?
No.
So that's what I'm saying is there's again, now granted, most of them like so far have been like Penix has probably been Penix and McCarthy have been bad, but they've shown at least a couple bit of flashes. But the other 4 have been solid. They've all been to the playoffs in their first 2 years.
And again, I guarantee you there is a coach out there who Carson Beck is their favorite quarterback.
That's what I'm telling you is like, I think like Bo Nix was Sean Payton's favorite quarterback. I have no doubt in my mind that was his favorite quarterback, and that was nobody's favorite quarterback going into that draft. He was probably 4 at the highest, maybe 3 if you put him over Drake May, like that, maybe 4 at the highest. So there's a very much a chance, yes, because all of the check this box, check that box for what scouts are looking at and coaches like, Carson Beck does have. The issue is there's so many red flags. But NFL coaches, as we say all the time on the show, have the biggest egos on planet Earth, and they're like, we can overcome that.
Yeah, I'm hoping this class is going to be more like, I think it's 2022 with Pickett and Malik Willis and all those guys. Like Pickett was like the only one who went in the first, and then the NFL at least waited enough to take the rest of them in round 3 when everyone thought, Malik Willis is going to go first overall, and Matt Corral's going to go in the first. Yeah, Matt Corral's not even in the fucking league anymore.
I love
so I think
that's the hell out of me. You scared the hell out of me, though, Eric, when you said, I hope this class is like that. I'm like, nobody hopes that, but you mean how the NFL drafts this
how the NFL drafts this class. So like,
I don't think they will. I really don't.
I don't trust them either.
I really don't. Like, the last time the NFL drafted the quarterback class properly was the Kenny Pickett draft class.
Yep.
They were all bad.
You could argue they didn't because Pickett still went in the first round.
Here's the thing.
But
they're all bad. But they didn't take a quarterback until the 20th pick.
And it was the first time the Steelers finally took a swing at quarterback since Big Ben, and they just missed.
Yep. It's like the Packers finally taking a swing on a first-round wide receiver, and jury's still out on Matthew Golden. So.
Yeah.
Also, when Eric said like Ty Simpson's good at ball fakes, I just immediately thought, Ben Roethlisberger was also good at ball fakes. So maybe he's Ben Roethlisberger, right? He's 6'5".
He would need to grow like 5 more inches.
Yeah,
5 more inches and gain about 50 more pounds to his body weight,
and get a posse to stand outside the bathroom so he can do his
there
thing.
You go.
and also have the toughness of old Ironsides. Like it's that's pretty much what he'd have to be. All right. Oh God, I love hating on SEC quarterbacks, guys. This is so much fun. Let's add another one to the list. This fucking LSU Tiger bum, Garrett Nussmeier. All I heard in the offseason, Garrett Nussmeier this, Garrett Nussmeier that. This guy's going to be great. And I sat there and said, no. I don't. I again, for those new to the show that might have not tuned in last year, I don't watch a lick of shit of college football. I didn't watch the national championship. I think I watched half of an Indiana game. I think I watched the first half of an Indiana game. I think that was it. It's not that difficult. I can just watch one quarter and tell you this guy fucking sucks. Garrett Nussmeier is not good. He is simply just not good at the sport. For many, he's a top 3 to 5 quarterback in this class. For a lot of people, for what it seemed like, he was going to be number one at the end of the season for a lot of people going into this 2026 draft class. Coach's son, played in the SEC, the check marks that we've talked about. Eric, what kind of career do you expect Garrett Nussmeier to have as somebody who has spent years of your life watching tape over the last 6 months? That the time doesn't add up, but you get it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I mean, Nussmeier's kind of the same as Carson Beck for me. Like, they're just going to be a solid backup in the league, and that's okay. Like, we can have solid backups in the league. What I wrote on him, short game accuracy and ball placement is pretty solid, but that's not really what I want in the quarterback. Mid to long range accuracy and ball placement is very suspect. Tends to make some bad decisions and force balls in the spots he shouldn't. Mobility is enough to pick up some yards if needed. Sometimes he needs, sometimes he's a little sneakier than you think. Throws on the run, he was usually pretty accurate and good ball placement on those. Arm strength, though, is very average. Ball just doesn't have that extra sauce on it. Seems like the middle of the field throws he was pretty good at, but anything outside the numbers, that's where a lot of his warts showed up. Throws with more loft than power, and that's kind of what I had on Carson Beck too. Like, they just throw with more loft than actual power.
Why does this sound like Mac Jones scout tape?
Yeah.
I mean, that's short game accuracy, medium, deep, suspect, no arm strength, forces balls when he should. That sounds like Mac Jones.
Pretty much, yeah.
Josh, Ryan, anything on Nuss? I know, Josh, you probably saw a little bit of him.
I think his 2024 tape's a hell of a lot better than his 2025 tape.
Yeah, he's gotten worse.
Yeah,
like,
he's
that's not what you want.
Which is not good.
A
but
lot of these guys,
if I'm not mistaken, a lot of these guys did regress.
Yes, and we'll get to two guys that didn't even make the top 10 list that have regressed.
Eric, correct
heavily,
me if I'm wrong. Didn't Nussmeier, wasn't he dealing with some kind of like lingering injury last year as well that was kind of affecting his play?
Yeah, so they think the report is that he has some sort of, I think it's knee tendonitis that he's just going to deal with for the rest of his life. So it's kind of affected him 2 years in a row.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Go
ahead, Ryan.
I said the thing that concerned me the most about him, putting it bluntly, they kind of took the ball out of his hands when I was looking at the numbers. They threw the ball almost 40 times a game in 2024, and that fell down to almost 33 times a game in 2025. And like, why are we letting this great quarterback throw less? And obviously he missed time, but the fact of the matter is the volume was never going to catch up. And to me, that's the most concerning thing about all this. In college, of all places, when you have that fucking guy, you let him go out there and do his thing. And LSU backed off of him. And if LSU is backing off of you, it's a problem. I'm not just looking at the raw numbers. I'm looking at the per game numbers, and there was a definite step back, like you guys have already pointed out, and it's concerning.
Yeah, he's got the mindset of a gunslinger. Like, he's not afraid to throw the football at all, and it really just kind of, it just kind of came with, LSU was like, you know what, we know you want to throw, just scale it back some, which kind of like, it kind of paints him as like this like Jay Cutler light. And I think he's got much better mechanics than Ty Simpson, like just from a footwork perspective. But like the way that he throws the ball, it's not quite as low as Phillip Rivers, but it's still not like where you want it, like above the shoulder with like a release point. And it just kind of like, I don't know, it feels like it spins off the arm kind of weird. And I mean, I feel like those are little things that you could probably coach out of somebody. But, considering the fact that his dad, is a coach. He's the offensive coordinator with the Saints. Yeah, and his dad hasn't coached it out of him. Maybe it's not going anywhere. But I mean, I think that, with again, good coaching, maybe he can develop into a spot starter or an average starting quarterback. But, he's definitely got the mindset of like, yeah, I can go out and do this, but doesn't necessarily have the talent that matches that.
So just to talk about regression, 13 games in 2024, 9 to 2025. He had more completions in 2024 than attempts in 2025 by 50. He attempted 525 passes in 24, 288 in 2025, 4,000 yards to 1,900 last year. What happened? Like, what?
Well, I mean,
was a
LSU
fucking dumpster fire.
I was going to say, I mean, LSU fired their coach. They brought in Lane Kiffin. Clearly, there were some problems on offense, and it wasn't just Nussmeier.
But so, yes, problems to cut your attempts and yardage in half.
Yep.
That's
and they
a lot.
They got 3 draft eligible wide receivers in this class too. I mean, none of them are spectacular, but he's got 3 receivers that are probably going to get drafted. He has one of the best young tight ends in college. He had a couple good running backs, but they couldn't run the fucking ball. Like that whole team was just a huge dumpster fire. Yeah.
So I forgot about my most favorite part about this show are the comparisons on NFL.com.
Oh my God. How have we gotten 35 minutes without these?
Because I forgot, and I'm bad. I'll go back to the other guys too.
Joe's rusty, clearly.
Yeah, I gotta hear these.
I'm a little rusty. Well, this one I have. Garrett Nussmeier's comp, an SEC brethren himself, Drew Lock. Anybody? Drew Lock for Garrett Nussmeier?
He don't have the arm that Drew Lock.
I was gonna
does.
say,
Drew
I
Lock
was
has
gonna
that
say,
fucking howitzer.
Well, and that's kind of what I was saying with Jay Cutler Light. Like he has that mentality, but not the talent. Like he definitely does not have the arm strength.
I say like that's big cock Lock. That guy.
Yeah.
He's
honestly, we may have just discovered his problem is that he has the mentality, but not the tools to get it done. Yeah. It's like that's a losing recipe there.
Mm-hmm.
So my next 2 guys, and we had mentioned this, like fall offs from 24 to 25. 2 guys looked at potential NFL starters a year ago, and I did look up their comps. They don't have them on NFL.com, sadly. So that's not good. Drew Allar and Cade Klubnik. Now, I'm not going to pretend I know a lick of shit about Drew Allar. Not even going to pretend. Cade Klubnik, I could have told you immediately he's going to suck. So Cade? No, that's a golfer. That's not an NFL player. Didn't even make your top 10. So, and I will preface this before Eric begins. He asked, as he said, is cursing allowed on the show? And we told him, yes, of fucking course. He said, good, I'm going to do it when I talk about Drew Allar. So please, The floor is yours, Eric. What happened? What happened?
I mean, they were just both dog shit this year, to be honest with you. I mean, Klubnik was somebody, like we mentioned earlier, somebody I thought was going to have a good season because he had all these elite weapons around him. Running back that's going to get drafted as well. Clemson was one of the favorites this year to possibly win the national championship, and that just completely fell apart. I mean, they lost the opening game to LSU, so that just shows you how bad they were. But what I wrote up here on Klubnik, accuracy is hit or miss. Short ball accuracy usually solid, but misses high a lot. Threw his receivers quite a few hospital balls and made the catches more difficult for his receivers than they needed to be. Decision-making isn't great, throwing a lot in bad coverage, especially on his balls. I thought his arm was pretty good. I'd say above average. His mobility was pretty solid, can escape the pocket and make a play, scramble for yards. Was used on design runs some as well. Footwork still needs some work. When he doesn't set, plant, and throw, he's all over the place. And then on Drew Allar, my first thought on him when I watched him was I wonder if Stevie Wonder would be a better quarterback.
Oh, no.
Positives, big frame, good arm, can make all the throws. Accuracy is pretty shit. Throws within 5 to 7 yards are usually pretty decent. Accuracy is there, but after that, it's all over the place. A lot of high throws. Ball placement isn't great. A lot of throws behind receivers are way too high. Accuracy just leaves a lot to be desired. Mobility is there. He looks slow at times, but once he gets rolling, he picks up some yards. He's like a powerful type of runner. He is fucking horrendous under pressure. Accuracy, footwork, everything is bad. He's like a trebuchet, like fucking in World War II or World War I or something, just fucking all over the place, man.
Hell yeah.
Like he's terrible. Yeah, I have him like 17th on my list, and I see these people, teams love him. They're going to take him. If there's a GM that drafts him in like round 3 or 4, I'm going to know not to fucking take any guys from that team because that GM's a fucking moron.
Yeah, I think we get confused sometimes by the teams are going to love him and draft it. Like, we need to learn our lesson going back to that Kenny Pickett draft. Even if we want to say, okay, teams loved I'm blanking. Desmond Ridder. That shit didn't work. He fell to round 3, and that's about where we should see Allar going. Allar going in 2 or 3 means nothing to me. It's the talent the inconsistency. He needs to sit for many years and prove something before I'd be willing to touch him.
Yeah,
he needs
Allar's
to go
got
on
a big
day
arm,
3.
That's about it. Yeah, Allar's got a big arm, and that's about it.
So there's no comp on NFL.com, but I did go to Player Profiler in Drew. I'm going to call him Allar. I don't want to call him by his real name. His best comp is Davis Mills.
Oh boy.
Yes.
I mean, I don't want a
Mills.
helmet scout, but he's probably fucking Christian Hackenberg.
Football guys, I don't even remember this guy. Comped him to Jacob Eason.
Yeah, shout out, dog.
Washington, I believe, right?
There you go. I was gonna say I'm
Was
trying to
Washington or
remember
NC
him.
State?
No, Easton,
I think he was Washington. Yeah, he was Washington, and he played at Seattle when he went to the NFL.
Yeah.
Wow. R.I.P. Jacob Eason. Not dead, I assume. Just
Like Drew
not,
Allar's career is going to be dead here in a minute.
just not good. And Vince, this is perfect. He says skip these bums and move on to Taylen Green. Well, that's the next one. Is few extremely mobile quarterbacks, and why Vince says move away from these bums. Taylen Green had a 4.3 40. That's not what a quarterback should run. That's just
fly.
And he's 6'6".
He's 6'6". He ran a 4.36 40. He's not like 6'6", like 200 pounds. 6'6", 227, like still pretty good size too.
Yep.
This is just the question. Why is he not the next Anthony Richardson? So sell us on why he's not gonna suck, essentially. Or if you think he's gonna suck, tell us why.
Well, I mean, there's no way he's going to be drafted in the top 5 overall. So that's, going to be his saving grace of why he's not Anthony Richardson.
Well, that's because the Colts don't have a pick in the top 5.
That too. And he's going to sit behind somebody for a while. But my big takeaway from my rankings this year was I think Carson Beck, Nussmeier, all these guys are backups. If I want a backup, I want the guy with the most upside. And that's why I have Taylen Green at 3 and Jalon Daniels at 4, because I think they have the most upside compared to Beck and Nussmeier, who I don't really think have any upside. So that's why I have these guys so high. Would I be shocked if Beck and Nussmeier and those guys get drafted ahead of Taylen Green and Jalon Daniels? It's probably likely, but I'm still going to take them, especially for dynasty football and fantasy football and all that. These guys that run, I want them. Like that's the guys I want to roster. I don't want to roster Beck and Nussmeier who aren't going to do shit for me. So I just wanted to preface that. But with Taylen Green, accuracy, it can be improved. He is inconsistent at times with his accuracy and ball placement, but he has shown that he can do it. Just needs to be more consistent at it. Needs to work on processing and full field reads. He's big, 6'6", has a great arm, makes all the throws. Throwing on the run, his mechanics and accuracy go to shit, though. So he's going to need to work on that. I can see the Joe Milton comp that people have for him.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, and look at Joe Milton. If you go to like KTC and look up fantasy or dynasty ranks, like he's like a top 5 backup quarterback. So I want that guy on that team because he's valuable compared to like a fucking Trevor Siemian who's going to be Garrett Nussmeier or something. So the Joe Milton comp, best part is his dual threat ability. He's probably the best rushing quarterback in the class. His speed is unmatched. He just gallops and makes it look easy. He can be as good as any of the top rushing quarterbacks, Lamar, Jaden Daniels, Jalen Hurts, etc. He has that level of talent, rushing ability. So I want that guy on my fantasy teams to draft this year because if it hits, it's going to hit big.
I just want to bring this up from Player Profiler. Obviously, the number one in terms of athleticism, the number one quarterback in this class.
Yeah.
He is
percentile, I believe.
Yeah, 100 percentile in burst and 40-yard dash. 5th of all positions in terms of this class rank. 62nd all time amongst 6,800 players. Just wanted to throw those numbers out there before Ryan and Josh chime in. That's how athletic this guy is.
I'm going to make a comp, but it's not, I don't want to make this, it's not a player comparison. It's a dynasty fantasy football comparison. This reminds me of Jalen Milroe last year, where Milroe was that guy who you knew was going to end up a backup, or even when you were doing your rookie drafts, you already knew he was a backup you still wanted him because there's something there. Taylen Green is way more athletic than Jalen Milroe and huge. And to answer Josh's question from the show sheet, I'm going to go to our favorite stat. In his 1 year of doing anything in college, Anthony Richardson completed a whopping 53% of his passes. While not extensively better, Taylen Green was above 60% in each of these last 2 years as like a full-blown starter. I'm way more excited about Taylen Green than I am fucking ever was Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, I have one note that I wrote on Taylen Green. He's Justin Fields and the size of Anthony Richardson.
There you go.
That's literally like when I look at him play, I'm like,
you want.
yeah, I'm like, this is literally like watching Justin Fields on the Bears, because Justin Fields at Ohio State was a very different quarterback.
Yeah,
but on the Bears, like the mechanics were terrible. He didn't have the great weapons. I mean, Taylen Green playing at Arkansas, like he didn't have great weapons, but you could see the athletic ability. Like it is 100% there. But unlike Justin Fields at Ohio State, Taylen Green was not afraid to run the football.
Yeah.
Justin Fields in Chicago, unafraid to run the football. So that's what I see when I look at Taylen Green. Like I see a very like in the pros Justin Fields, which again, that was starter worthy in the NFL, and it was certainly starter worthy in fantasy football, but it didn't get him anywhere long term. And I think that's kind of where I'm at with Taylen Green. Like I agree, like it's very much the Joe Milton, the Jalen Milroe side of things. Like, he's going to be drafted probably as a backup. Some team might get creative, create some packages and stuff where you can utilize them. The amount of quarterback injuries that have, befallen quarterbacks in the NFL the last few seasons, he could very well find himself with a spot start, right? That becomes valuable. So,
yeah.
And just throwing out, because Jalen Milroe was brought up, he ran a 4.5 140, which ranks in the 98th percentile amongst quarterbacks. So Taylen Green, 0.15 seconds faster on his 40, and he's 4 inches taller and 10 pounds heavier.
Freak athlete. Yep.
Absolute freak athlete. And Vince brought up he could play receiver if he wanted to. Terrell Pryor made that switch.
He did.
So there's a chance that
had himself a 1,000-yard season too.
And he did. So there's a chance that some team might want to utilize that, because realistically, he's smoking most defensive backs in the NFL just in straight line speed. And he very much has the height over every single defensive back here in the NFL. Let's just fly through some of these before we get into our top prospects land. So Taylen Green is obviously a mid to late round guy that Eric likes. And Jalon Daniels, not to be confused with Jaden Daniels. So Jalon Daniels goes to Kansas, and Taylen Green goes to Arkansas.
Because of recent news, what if Washington drafts Jalon Daniels the way Atlanta has now combined B. Robinson?
They could use some backup quarterbacks.
That's what I'm thinking. It's not a ungodly landing spot.
Before we go into top prospects landing, what do you like about Jalon Daniels, Eric?
Yeah, so I think I'm kind of, the outlier here. I've seen, a lot of the other people's rankings on quarterbacks this year, and Jalon Daniels is like outside their top 10. I don't.
I'll give you one that I keep in front of me at all times because I work for him. Football Guys has him at 16, Eric. So you're definitely anti-football guy.
Yeah,
which sometimes not a bad thing.
Right.
So what I wrote, Ryan.
Yeah. Accuracy, I think, is usually pretty solid. His footwork can get a little wonky at times, and that'll cause some misses. So he's going to need to work on his footwork and throwing from a steady base. Ball placement is usually pretty solid, but needs to be a little more consistent there. He has very good speed. His rushing ability style reminds me a lot of like Justin Herbert, like when I watch him run. Needs to learn to slide and get down more, take some big shots, kind of like Jaden Daniels does. And has an injury history. So I think that's one of the reasons that he is down, because he has quite of an extensive injury history. Yeah. He's a Houdini in the pocket, though, at times where he can just escape pressure and make a play. Other times when he's under pressure, his mechanics are off and throw isn't good. Decision-making under pressure isn't great either, so he's going to have to improve on that. But he has big-time arm talent, though. He can make every throw on the field. Really, really impressive when I was watching his stuff. So it's not a guy I'm expecting to come in, start day one or anything like that, but I think he's a good developmental type quarterback that could be your backup and come in and start for you. And then in fantasy, if we ever get him to start, like he's probably a top 12 quarterback that week just because of his rushing ability.
Yeah.
Yeah, he feels like a Josh Johnson, Tyler Huntley type to me.
Yeah, that's fair. I was going to say the one thing I like about him is he's limited his interceptions outside of a bad 2024 season. When you look at his attempts, his interceptions aren't high to an attempt. 2024 things got a little but in 2025 even it improved again.
Right. I mean, it's Kansas too. Name me a Kansas player other than Devin Neal the last 2 years.
Fair.
Yeah, you can't.
Nope, can't even think of one. Nope. I was going to say Rajon Rondo, I think, played for the Kentucky football team, but that was Kentucky. So that's all I could think of. I was like, oh, Kansas.
The best Kansas football player Joe could come up with
is Rajon Rondo.
Is Rajon Rondo, the Kentucky basketball player.
I'm pretty sure he did play on the
I know what you
Kentucky
said.
football
I'm
team as well.
just saying that might be my favorite thing ever.
They're basically the same state. Kansas, Kentucky. What
Joe's
else?
Player comp for every other Kansas player.
Rajon Rondo.
Is Rajon Rondo.
They're about just as good as Rondo was in the NFL as they'll be. So,
right.
Something about Jalon Daniels though, 6-year collegiate player, started at 18. So, just saying, everyone loved Tyler Shuck. I don't know why more people aren't on Jalon Daniels. They both played 6 years in college. So, that's a Savannah Banana Tyler Shuck as well. So. If nobody saw that, Tyler Shuck was.
I did not. My apologies.
No, I did not.
We had Tyler Shuck day 1 and Drew Brees day 2. So
well, you mentioned Brees. Nice. I didn't know you had Shuck. So.
Yeah, we had.
Still waiting to see that video, Joe.
No, I shook Drew Brees' hand and said, "Are you ready to get a hit today?" And then he grounded out. So it was.
So he let you down again.
Well, actually, I'm on the party animal, so he grounded out into a trick play. It actually helped us. It helped us very much. But I will say this, on our rehearsal day, before we dive into this, we were doing a halftime show. Shuck comes in. He's the quarterback for the Bananas. The Bananas score touchdown, whatever it is. Rehearsal day, Shuck's there. We're going through the whole thing. We introduce him, runs onto the field. He looks at the party animals, does this to them. And it was the funniest thing ever. He flipped them the double bird as he ran onto the field. It was so good.
Well, here's how I know he made a great impression. Joe is pronouncing his name correctly now. So Tyler Shuck made an excellent...
he was a very, very
No,
nice
I'm just
guy.
saying, Joe,
family was
a week
there.
ago you weren't pronouncing his name. You refused. Yeah.
Fun fact, I don't think we pronounced it correctly when we introduced
no.
But then again, apparently Travis Etienne is Travis Achan. No, you're not. Go fuck yourself. So
Agreed.
I mean, he is, but not the way ever...
Yeah, I'm not changing.
Yeah.
I'm always calling him Etienne.
It's Travis Etienne. I was already pissed at Devon Achan for changing it because Achan was better, whatever it was. Fuck this so stupid shit. Just say your name properly. Teams could potentially draft a quarterback in the first 3 rounds. Raiders. Duh. Jets. Cardinals. Browns. Steelers. Could potentially draft one at some point. Rams, Vikings, and Dolphins. And now we'll go into the top prospects and where they land. And yes, I will give you their pro player comp, according to, if they have it, NFL.com and Player Profiler. So, we're just going to skip Fernando Mendoza because everybody thinks he's going to go to the Raiders.
Who's the
obviously? His comp, according to NFL.com, and this is by Lance Zierlein, Joe Burrow would be his NFL comparison.
Interesting.
And then on to
I think he's more Kirk Cousins.
I was going to say Kirk Cousins is my comp too. Yep.
Well, this may be more along the lines of a Kirk Cousins comp. Matt Ryan, according to Player
That's
Profiler.
who Football Guys has as well. So.
Yep. So Player Profiler has a comp to Matt Ryan. All right. Moving into Ty Simpson. Eric, where do you think he's going to end up?
I think the Cardinals move back up into the first round and take him. So that's kind of where I've had him the last couple weeks.
All right. And I know somebody matches him. Josh, you also think Cardinals.
Yeah, I've had him here for the last couple of hours. Because I
oh, good. Okay.
No, I heard the rumor that there's the Cardinals could potentially trade back from 3 to then take Simpson at between 8 and 13, depending on where they move back or something along those lines. And I was just like, I think that's kind of dumb. But if this whole Orlovsky saying that, some GMs or plenty of GMs think that, Ty Simpson is the best quarterback in this class. And again, maybe there's some weight to him actually being a top 10, top 15 pick. Whereas I think the value in Ty Simpson is going in the 20s or somebody trading back up a la Jackson Dart last season. I think the Cardinals make a lot of sense in that instance if they're able to then get like that offensive lineman at 3. Like I think Mauigoa would be a perfect pick for them because they need a strong right tackle. Got Paris Johnson on the left side. They need to shore up the right side. You get the right tackle. Now you've got bookends. You trade back up, get your quarterback. I think, and then again, he can sit behind Jacoby Brissett.
I put him in Pittsburgh.
There you go, Ryan.
It's no commitment from Aaron Rodgers yet. New regime. They need to get their guy if they believe this is the year to do it. So,
NFL comparisons for Ty Simpson, according to Lance Zerline of NFL.com. Mac Jones. That's probably a helmet scout a little bit there.
Mm-hmm.
And to player profiler, Andy Dalton. Perfect.
Yeah,
perfect.
I can see Andy Dalton.
Yeah, that's not bad.
From what you guys have been explaining to me as Ty Simpson, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Moving into Garrett Nussmeier. Eric, you have an interesting one. Where's he going?
Yeah, so I'm projecting like Nussmeier and these guys to probably be like round 3 or 4. I think Green Bay would be a good spot for him just because they, lost Malik Willis here. There's really not a good backup quarterback there for Green Bay right now behind Jordan Love. So I think getting a guy with LaFleur there that maybe could, be a good stopgap if Love gets hurt, who he has gotten hurt the last couple of years. Getting a guy like Nussmeier, somebody that's smart, can develop behind Jordan Love, I think would be a good spot for Green Bay. So I expect Green Bay at some point to probably take a quarterback in this draft.
Josh?
I said the Steelers. I think Mike McCarthy has dealt with enough gunslingers in his time. When you look at, Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, you look at Dak Prescott in Dallas. I think that, he might see something with Nussmeier that, might be able to connect. And again, I mean, you bring him in, maybe he sits a year behind Rodgers or whatever they ultimately decide to do at quarterback. Kirk Cousins still being out there as well. He's not going to be forced to start right away. He can compete with last year's 6th-round pick Will Howard for the ultimate backup spot. And, maybe McCarthy finds a diamond in the rough.
Any of you guys want to take a shot at who the 2 backup quarterbacks are for Green Bay right now?
Ooh.
Are they NFL veterans? Like, been around the block or?
One has, yes. The other one was a rookie last year.
Oh, Ritter's there.
Yep. Desmond fucking Ritter's the backup and Kyle McCord.
I just looked at this too and I'd already forgotten.
Yeah, they need a backup quarterback bad.
They definitely need a backup quarterback.
Garrett Nussmeier's comp is Case Keenum, according to Player Profiler.
Career backup. Gunslinger. That fits.
He had one good season
that's
as a
not bad.
starter. One good season starter. And Ryan, you have him going to the Cardinals.
Yeah, I agree with Eric that he is likely a 3rd-round pick. If the Cardinals like him, I could see them going at 34, but I think more than likely their 3rd-round pick is the more likely option here. So
we move into Carson Beck. Eric and Josh once again agreeing. You guys got him going to the Jets, Eric.
Yeah, I've heard some rumors that the Jets like him and stuff, so I think that's probably a good spot. I couldn't really think of anything else, but like, hey, go to the Jets and see what happens there with their quarterback room. They're really not competing this year. They're trying to get a good quarterback for 2027, so it doesn't really matter, to be honest. Like, they're going to have somebody else there next year anyways.
Josh.
Yeah, I picked the Jets here for a couple of reasons. So, we talked about this before, right? He's a winner. Technically 2 national championships. Took 2 different teams to the college football playoff. 3-year starting experience. He's battle tested. And I think he fits a culture that Aaron Glenn and this new Jets regime actually want to bring in. You've already got Geno Smith as the starter. He's a guy that, has had some up and downs, but Carson Beck is kind of similar in how they play the game, right? And I said my comp for him was basically Jared Goff with mobility. that front office was with Jared Goff in Detroit. So if they see a lot of those similar traits, that could be the guy they look at in the top of the second round or even later in the second round, because they have both 2 first and 2 second round picks. And again, it's one of those things where, yes, we know that the Jets are ultimately going to find, or more than likely going to find, their starter in 2027. It's a deeper class. They have 3 first round picks. But we thought that the 2026 class might be a better class too, but it fell off the rails really quickly. Who's to say that the 2027 class doesn't fall off the rails quickly? You've got to take your swings when you have the opportunities. So if you see a guy that you like, and I think Carson Beck will have some fans in front offices, this could be a great spot for him, that maybe he doesn't have to come in start right away, but he can get maybe 6 starts under his belt towards the end of the season. And it sets them up to where, if they feel impressed, and I think he could work really well in Frank Reich's system. That's the other side of it too. Seeing as how somebody like Carson or Wentz did really well in Frank Reich's system, I think there's some similar traits there to Carson Beck. So I think the Jets make a lot of sense for Carson Beck.
From a front office that likes him to a coaching staff that worked with him. Ryan, you haven't gone to the Rams.
Yeah, and so that's exactly what I was thinking about here is I originally had this as Miami, that he just stays in Miami. But with how we started talking about him earlier in the show, and I was like, wait a second, I know a coaching staff that likes proven winners and needs a backup quarterback. I'm putting him with the Rams. They've held on to Stetson Bennett this entire fucking time. It's only right that Beck replaces Bennett once again.
And Carson Beck's comp. Kenny Pickett, according to NFL.com.
Yikes.
Mason Rudolph, even a bigger yikes, according to Player.
Yeah, those are not great
Profiler.
players. Now I have to see who Football Guy says, because those aren't
Not good
great
ones.
at all.
And then last
Mason Rudolph
one.
was actually decent at Oklahoma State before he got.
Oh wait,
to the
this
pros,
was
but-
wasn't yeah. Carson Beck was the Jacob Eason was. Oh no. Oh God, Joe. We say Dan Orlovsky.
No, it was not.
That's who Football Guy says.
Oh, that's perfect.
Oh
Hilarious.
my god.
That's incredible. That's amazing. Last guy, Drew Allar. Eric, you haven't gone to the Colts.
Yeah, I honestly, it's pick a name out of a fucking hat on this one. I don't know who's going to take them, but
Right.
I threw the Colts in there. So they usually take these big guys and try and mold them into something. So yeah, I'll just throw them to the Colts.
Josh, Browns.
Yeah, the Browns collect bad quarterbacks like Infinity Stones, so I think it makes sense.
God, as a Browns fan, if that would happen, I would fucking hang myself
Eric.
on camera.
Eric, listen.
Look,
can't
another
get
team that is
much worse
basically
for you.
going to look for their franchise guy in 2027. Like,
Yeah.
I think they're just going to bring in somebody that maybe, can compete. I don't know
Why?
what.
You
What?
brought in
Well,
two
Why?
guys
Yeah,
I don't know
last
what they're
year.
gonna. Maybe they want to start Deshaun Watson. Maybe they want to see what they have with
You
Shador
have
Sanders.
3 quarterbacks on the fucking roster.
And-
you don't need a 4th.
Right.
Well, they didn't need 4 last year, and they drafted 2
They
in
had
the 5th
5.
round, or 2 in the
Yeah,
in the last draft.
They
So.
brought in
They had
Snoop as
Pickett,
well.
and then they had fucking Tyler Huntley and the
Yeah,
two
they had
rookies.
6. They had the
Yeah.
well. I mean, Watson was never technically there last year.
Yeah, it was a clusterfuck. And Flacco,
Flacco re-signed with the Bengals.
He did.
Shout out.
good
dog,
spot for him.
Dog. And Ryan, you have the Jets, please.
Honestly, this was me scouting teams who have already done early interviews, and the Jets seem to like Allar. So that just kind of, I don't have a ton of reasoning behind it. They need a quarterback. They like him.
Lends
They
credence to
wanted
your Christian
Hackenberg.
Hackenberg comp.
Yep, they want him back. We gotta have that back.
All I know is it doesn't matter who goes to the Jets.
Like we were talking about earlier, name one quarterback that has ever come out of Penn State that was any
Yeah.
good. Like the last one is literally Kerry Collins in 1995, or fucking 30 years ago.
How about this one to set you up for 2027 and end the show? Eric's sleeper for 2027 is Julian Sand from the Ohio State. Name me a good fucking quarterback that's come out of Ohio State. Eric.
Yeah, that's true too. Yep. I mean, just as a Buckeyes fan, I watched this kid last year. Like his
He's a good
accuracy and all that. Yeah, he's really good, and then he's gonna get another year to start here. He's gonna have Jeremiah Smith again. He's got some other receivers there and all that. Ohio State's gonna be in the playoffs most likely, so he's gonna be playing in big games again. I know there's a couple games this year where towards the end, the Indiana championship game and the playoff game, like he wasn't as good, but you gotta have to learn from that. So hopefully he comes back. And nobody's really talking about him. It's Arch, it's Dante Moore, it's Lenore Sellers, Brendan Sorsby, Sam Levitt, like
Chambliss.
nobody. Yeah, Chambliss. Like nobody's really talking about Julian Sane, and he can. This will be his junior year, so if he comes out and has a tremendous year, like he's definitely somebody I could see being a top 5 pick.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie
how do you
here.
do against you in the
That's
champion?
what I said. Like
college?
he
There
wasn't.
you go,
Yeah, he wasn't very good. So hopefully he learns from that, and
I wanna give
this
Eric
year
a
has
little-
a bigger year.
I want to give Eric credit on this though. Being an Ohio State guy myself, I was like, is he a sleeper? And then I went and looked and saw all those names, and I was like, okay, yeah, he technically is. So.
It really is. It's setting up to be a very deep class. It really is. And this class would have gotten, or the 2026 class would have looked a lot better had Dante Moore actually come out this season. But him going back to Oregon now, again, like it's looking like it's going to be a stacked class. But Lenore Sellers should have come out this year. He went back because he didn't have such a great season. So
Yeah.
Just for the guys that watch college football, and please enlighten me. Is Arch Manning good? No, correct?
he's
I'm
not. Well, and that's the problem. He's being. It's the
got
same thing with
better.
Marvin Harrison Jr. Right? He's being held to the standards of his family lineage. Right.
So let's take not even Eli. Let's take Peyton out of the conversation, right? Because Peyton was just a menace in college. Not saying Eli wasn't, but Peyton is Tennessee. Like that's Peyton Manning. Where is he in college football just in general? Like is he actually good?
I think he can be.
So
I think
he's
what
not,
a lot of
is
people.
what I'm hearing.
Well, but again, I mean, like, we know how great Peyton Manning was, right? He couldn't beat Florida in college.
Okay, but Arch Manning can't beat anybody.
Well, but he can. But the thing, like, he couldn't beat Ohio State going on the road. Like, it's one of his first career starts on the road in a big environment, right?
Take that out.
But again, like that's what we're comparing him to, because even later on in the season, those games that he couldn't win, they weren't home games, if I'm not mistaken. They were road games in hostile environments. Like that's what college football is. So we're still talking about a guy that this was his first full season as the starter. Like, give him another year. Let him actually grow into the tools and the talent that he does have.
The question is he good? Not now. Does he have the tools? Certainly. It's just, to me, I don't see anything great now, but we've seen guys take these leaps, certainly in a second year of starting in big time college football. And Texas will have the right weapons around him.
Yeah, I mean, if I had my money on who's going to be the number 1 pick next year, the QB1, it's Dante Moore. It's not Arch Manning.
I mean, the reason I would think Arch has the the most likely to be number 1 overall, I don't even know if it has to do, the name, and I don't even know if it has to do with the on-field stuff. It's selling tickets, it's selling fucking jerseys, and all that. Just having the Manning name on your team is just going to make your franchise more valuable and all that stuff. So I think that's more the reason why he might be number 1 overall this year if he doesn't deserve it.
We saw it with the Taylor Swift hype. The fact that Peyton and Eli will be at his games and just stuff like that is enough to draw the media where you want it. So
something I didn't watch the video because I've been living it for the last 10 years. It was a 16-minute piece on how sports teams now care more about the numbers than they do about the wins and the championships. And the case study was done on the Boston Red Sox. So why I didn't watch the video is because I've been fucking living it for 10 years. And Josh, as a baseball fan.
Yeah.
The Red
I mean,
Sox
the Yankees have been holding on to 27 world championships. Like, they haven't done anything since 2009.
But here's the thing. You guys spend money on your players.
Yeah.
We don't. We've stopped spending money on our players. So, and it's all because...
Well, now we're getting lapped by the frickin'
the
Dodgers and the Mets and,
But in that same token, because Eric, it's a great point, is the whole thing of that case study was it's more profitable to be bad or okay than it is to be a championship team. It was basically the premise of the case study. So,
I mean, baseball's been living that case study for an eternity.
Decades.
The Reds and the Pirates have not given a shit about winning games because the profit for those owners was to not. So,
yeah, same thing with the Marlins. Like, they would spend up, win a championship, sell everybody.
Yep.
And that's just the point to Eric is you're going to draft Arch Manning. You're going to get a lot of jersey sales. You're going to get people that are going to want to come to watch Arch Manning. It's, again, for Eric, from a small standpoint, the Johnny Manziel hype for that short period of time. And it lasts very long, but damn well, I'm sure the Browns sold out that stadium for the first time in fucking ever when Johnny Manziel was the quarterback. So it's there's that point to it as well. As if Arch even has a somewhat decent year, there's going to need to be somebody that blows him out of the water twice over for them to be drafted, I think, over Arch Manning for that. For that simple reason.
And the Jets have 3 firsts for 2027, so they're probably the favorite to get them.
Yep. They ain't doing shit this year. I can tell you that right now.
No.
Did anybody think that? Because I saw something that came out where they said, "quote Peyton and Eli would not step in the way and prevent him from let's say going to the Jets, right? The way that Eli's dad, Archie wouldn't let Eli go play with the Chargers, right? Like they had to go to New York. So I'm wondering if something because we know how bad the Jets are, right? Like it's just a terrible franchise. They're poorly run, but it's a huge market, right?
I might be off base here, but I also think San Diego back then, which is the reason they don't have a team, was just a tiny team. Whereas I feel like the NFL has really changed since Eli's time. Nobody's small anymore. We're not blacking out Jaguars games and shit like that. Like none of the stuff that was happening when Eli came into the league, it's not happening anymore. I feel like every team is major market. So I just don't see that being an issue. I could be completely off base. I don't see it being an issue.
But there are still some very shitty run teams.
Oh, that's
the point, I think, of this whole thing is that, if one of those, because again, it's the shitty teams that end up at the top of the draft, which is where Arch is likely going to be drafted.
Yeah.
So then it becomes, how do the Rams get that pick to get Arch in LA, right? Like that's the whole concept.
Since Woody Johnson took over as the GM, correct? Owner? What is
Woody's
owner? Yeah.
Owner, thank you. Ever since he took over as owner, the Jets have had the worst record in the NFL.
Well, I believe it.
Ever since he took over as owner, the Jets, it was around 2000, I think he took over as owner, was around that time. Worst record in the NFL.
Interesting.
So legitimately the worst run team in football. Keep in mind, the Cleveland Browns have existed in that same time.
The Browns, and then I'm thinking Dan, whatever his name was in Washington. I can't think of his last name.
Dan Snyder.
Yeah, thank you.
Also, Detroit minus the last 5 years.
They were a really bad team too.
They're like bad teams. The Jets have been that bad for that long outside of those.
Honestly, the way that it's shaping up right now, I think Miami ends up at the top pick.
I'm not kidding you. I think
bad.
I think it is going to be a Miami in New York Jets dogfight for the bottom of the AFC East.
I hope they play Week 18. Please,
I want it so bad.
Miami's top pass catcher right now is Jalen Tolbert.
I love Index of Suspicions.
I saw that
Archie
too.
needs to ask Laramie Tunsil about that smoke mess.
I truly would it behoove Arch Manning to have a okay year?
Yeah.
He's a competitor.
I don't think he can afford an okay year.
Listen.
Yeah.
Dude makes so much money on NIL.
I mean, they're 100% again too.
I mean,
here's the other thing too. You're competitors.
I didn't mean afford that way. I meant
yes, but they're competitors. They're not going to go out there, and it's the same thing like in the Week 18 game. If it's Jets and Dolphins, the players aren't going to give a fuck. They're gonna play their balls off because if they start all the backups, guess what's going to happen? The backups want to show out so they can get a contract.
Yeah.
Right.
So they're athletes. They're going to compete all the time. It's us obviously joking in that instance.
Yeah, and we saw where players get mad about the choking because Max Crosby damn near had a divorce with the Raiders because of the allegations.
Unless you're in the NBA and you fix games and bet against yourself to
the NBA.
Oh God, the worst fucking league on planet Earth.
Yes, 100%.
Unless you're the NBA, everybody does try night in and night out in the NFL. They might suck, but they do try night in and night out. Eric, thank you again for joining us.
Yeah, what a show. Really great show.
Very insightful.
I appreciate it, guys. Always fun to be on here.
I learned a lot tonight. It really reinforced all my thought processes of these quarterbacks of I knew nothing and I knew everything coming into this show. Is that outside of even Mendoza might suck, but outside of Mendoza, they all suck. So that's pretty much what we've gotten from the show. There's your synopsis. If you're just catching the last 30 seconds of the show, that's the synopsis. There's your spark notes of it. Next week, of course, moving over to the running back position, I will not be here. I'm traveling once again. So you'll see me in 2 weeks for the receiver show. But next week, Mr. Brandon Angelo of Angelo's Analysis. I can't remember the last time I was on a show with him, but when I was, it was very insightful. I believe it was like 2020 or something like that.
It's been a while since we've had.
Yeah, we haven't had him in a while.
Angelo has some incredible insight on rookie running backs, so you can be sure to be prepared to check that out.
We'll be on actually at 9:45 next week.
Yeah, a little later
start
next
time.
week.
Yeah.
Yep. So set your alarms for you West Coast people. That'll help you out a lot.
Ryan needs to set his alarm to stay awake during the show.
Correct. Yes, that's the point. Yes. Yeah. I took a little power nap before the show. Don't worry. Make sure I made through it. Eric, thank you once again. For Josh, Ryan, and Eric, you can follow at Eric Vanek NFL on Twitter, and myself at Joe Zolo. You can follow Club Fantasy at Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Club Fantasy FFL. The URL, clubfantasyffl.com. Always remember, defense wins championships, offense wins fantasy football. We will see you next week.